at the basis of this khutbah, Surah to teen. Surah to teen is also this chapter 95 of the Quran entitled Faith. And what this chapter does, I want to share with you that it begins with an oath. God says, by the fig. Whenever you are studying the Quran, inshallah, I hope that as the masjid and as we have established this already, and we hope to continue this line of reason, that we are first and foremost a community that we stand on the Quran and the Quranic based sunnah of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, meaning that we take our direction, what we call our directional language, from the Quran and from those hadiths or those traditions of our Prophet Islam that can be supported by the logic and direction of the Quran, and that does not disagree with human nature and the best of human nature and human excellence. And our teacher, as Imam Muhammad, we have stood with this language and direction. And yes, I say it each time I come before you, we believe as all other Muslims around the world believe. We have the same rules of our Aqidah. But what we believe we have is different is that the way we look at the Quran, how we apply the Quran that Sunnah of our Prophet. I like to make it known because there are many places you could read, many places you could go and be advised about Jumu'ah. I'd like to let you know that where I'll be coming from, so inshallah, I hope that you'll be comfortable for knowing that we too have a vision where Islam should go, how Islam is going. It reminds me in the writings of the great scholar Dr. Abdul-Aleem in his seminal work entitled The Encyclopedia of Sirah, I think it was in the 5th volume. It's like a 10-volume set. Some of you guys know I told you about this about maybe 20 years ago, about 94, I think what we talked about. No, before, 88 I think it was. I told you that if you're gonna say you follow the Quran and you follow the Sunnah of Muhammad, you need to know more about Muhammad and the hearsay that most Muslims have and around, especially in the city and around. Everybody they follow the Sunnah and all, they don't know nothing, don't very know little. Anyway, in that volume 5, it's called Dawah and the Future Work. Right? The Encyclopedia of Sirah by Dr. Abdul-Aleem. He writes that the work that's obligatory on Muslims now and into the future is to be able to look at the Quran for themselves, to find a direction of how to apply the Quran and the teachings of our Prophet, meaning the Sunnah, in a way that will advance humanity. All right, and I always kept that as a note because so many Muslims love to look back. As I said, we're driving a car, looking in the rearview mirror, and wonder why we keep getting into problems. Because you got to look through the bigger vision, which is the front windshield. So with that being said, we have proceeded to look at the Quran, and we invite all of you to become students of the Quran and to go into the Quran with an open heart and an open mind. I hope that and begging Allah to show you His light that He had for the human being. For I said to you many, many times that God gave us no gold, no silver, no oil, no land. He only gave us this book as the tool of which we will use to compete in the world. So we do ourselves a disservice if we don't take time to really study the Quran and get into the Quranic languages, the Quranic Arabic. Because translation alone will not get you those precious gems, those precious ideas. So when we look at this surah, chapter 95 of the Quran, this first ayah, it begins with the divine oath of wrath. In English, they translate this usually as and or by. from Allah. Because where is a conjunctive word, that is really letting you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is connecting everything in creation. Because where is used in the Quran as it is meant and this and this and this to say that. But the way the Quran is constructed, every surah is connected with every other surah. And every surah eventually points you back to the material creation. That's the ultimate goal that Allah wanted, because we are creatures who live in the material world. All right? So, what teeny was they too? God is saying to us the fig, and now we look at the fig. Whenever Allah says something in the Quran, we should go and study that. Now, in the fig, you have many, many different seeds. Many seeds. And those seeds in the fig is a part of the nature of the fig. So God wanted to see this. Now, the things that we'll be saying to you is not something new. These things are known by religious scholars and religious thinkers. The fig represents the intuitive nature of the human being. Where do we get this idea from? How do we connect this? Well, when you look at the idea that we have, even in English, when a person is a thinker, and he comes with an idea, he says that he has to be called a figment. A fig, you can get a word there, figment of your imagination. So everything that the human being has created started first in the generative nature of his mind. He first had to think about it. And then he had to have the disciplines that is seen in the next part of the human intellect, which is the zaytun, the olive. The olive is now just one seed. One seed, you go from many ideas, and you see this if you study natural development of children. Children have, in their natural development, this fig nature more developed than the olive nature. The fig nature is showing you someone who he wants to be a doctor, a lawyer, he wants to be a mechanic. He has all these, he just has all this imagination. He has beautiful, but as he grows older, he begins to come into the progressional steps that this surah talks about. He moves from having a lot of ideas to now concentrating on one idea. That one idea becomes his life goal, his life's purpose. Right? That one idea begins to give him meaning. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that both of these characteristics of the mind, all right, are there, and it gives these two particular, the teen and the zaytun. When you look at the history of man, you find that these particular vegetables and fruits are throughout religious history. The fig is mentioned in the Bible. The olive is mentioned throughout mythology, and the olive branch is a sign of man coming to peace with himself. So when Allah says, remember now, it begins with the letter Y, which means that you got to make connections. The power of the Quran, and this is a small book, but it connects with everything in the world of the human being. And this particular surah, all right, is showing us how the development of the human mind works. Now let me just caution you here now. Now if you're trying to weigh what we're saying based on some tafsir you read by previous thinkers, you won't find this here. You won't find this in Ibn Kathir, Ibn Majah, Ibn Dab. You won't find it there. Because this particular surah, most times they don't have tafsir with it. And when they looked at this particular surah, they were dealing more with the historical evolution of Abab al-Nasu, the reason for revelation. Why Allah set this down. And I'm talking this in our Saturday morning class. So a lot of times to the historical significance of who it came down to, that's small. Well, why I say that's small? Because the human family has grown so vast now that we're challenged by other civilizations, other knowledge. All we can do is tell people what time the Quran was revealed, who it came to, and what this. That's the beginning of the knowledge. Who was there when it came down, and that's the beginning. But knowledge, brothers and sisters, I was teaching my children this today in school. I was telling them how knowledge is growing exponentially today. What we do today, 2 years from now, will be obsolete. If you got a cell phone that's over 2 years old, it's outdated. So if you're reading the Quran, looking backwards, you got knowledge that's outdated. But if you connect your study of the Quran with nature, nature is there as an open book for the mind of the human being to study and read. So if you say, what teeny was they to the movement from the intuitive urge. Now, some religious people said that most common people, like us sitting here, don't have this ability. We don't have ideas. We're good at taking other people's ideas and buying into them, but we're not originators of ideas. Therefore, so you don't find a whole lot of, they don't highlight our ability to invent things. All right? And even during this history of African American History Month, they found a few inventors, of the past. But where are the inventors of today? And especially, where are the inventors in the African American community? Your mind has been locked up because they tell you that innovation is haram. They really got you in a trick. All right? I'm talking Muslims to tell you this. But what I'm saying to you is, you look at the nature-based understanding. Look at what message you're getting from the Quran when you read any surah. We're talking now about Surah the teen that has been seen in history. Now let's make some connections. Also, teen has been seen in the fig. It was in the early beginnings of man's development. They said that the fig leaf covered his shame. This is in biblical teaching. But it's important for us to understand how in other words, they have put your imagination. This is what I understand what they're saying to you. Your imagination, brother and sister, is in your sex organ. You always imagine who you get next to. You think all the time, you think with your little head. Your whole abilities is not based on what you can create with your mind. It's how many women you can get with your sex. So yeah, your fig is now down in covering your shame. So they have language that tells those who are alert to understand the religious symbolic language, where have they put the focus of the average person? They put the focus of the average person into their sex life. So we look at each other as male and female, not as mind and womb of mind. We see each other as biological species that is driven by biological urges, not by those who are moved by the creative, intuitive urge of the fig of the mind. But no, we are focused on the fig of our sex. And then look at it. They will have you in your, get ready for your gymnasium with Viagra. So you're still excited even in death. How old will be that? So what teeny was they two? Let's look at these two now. The creative urge of the fig must be disciplined by the movement towards the olive, having a focus, having a purpose, having a commitment. All right? You and I must be committed to what? To ascend the knowledge of revelation and get those precious gems. What teeny was they two? What tourists see, get the knowledge, yes. Many of us, for example, travel to Mecca, go to make Hajj, and come back and become less effective in the society. We come back and we involvement with the Torah Sinin, our understanding of when you wed the two, the fig and the olive, your creative juices, and your excellent commitment must be seen in you taking the guidance that's in Revelation. The guidance in Revelation will guide you to what? To see the purpose of Revelation. The purpose of Revelation is to equip the human being to find his purpose, find his destiny in the plan of God. And until you find your purpose and your destiny in the plan of God, you will just have religion that is somebody's idea of what you should be about. But once you come into the plan of God, what Tini was a tune, what Torah Sinin, now you have understanding of your purpose. Let's look at this. Let's make some connections here. Moses is connected with Torah Sinin. It's in Mount Sinai. But what is Sinai? Sinai is man's coming to the understanding of the unity of purpose. That's what it's all about. It's the enlightenment that one should get once he or she ascended the mountain. In fact, the prophet was known to go Jabal Nur, and our religion is called Jabal Nur. We must be able, like Moses, once he got the understanding, did he still be in the mountain? Did he come down from the mountain like he was still in the Holy Land? No, he came down with the purpose of what? The Torah Sinin points you to a destiny. They call it in this language, it points to what they call the promised land. In the American language, you're not the only one that had this same step that you got to go back. We call it here manifest destiny. In Islam, we call it Hadal Balad Amin. You must come off the mountain. If you really got enlightenment, if you really got knowledge, you must come down from the mountain. Not to walk around the city like you still in the Holy Land, but to come back and get busy in the material world and make your mark in the material world and establish a society, a community where the plan of God is lived out. What Tini was a tool, what Torah Sinin, people, this world comes to their Torah Sinin and they come to what we call exact science. I was at a lecture earlier in the week, and I'm so sorry for the scholar who was teaching because they're now looking at, the discussion was on the role of biology in the future. And they come to the conclusion that we will be able to control the genetic makeup of the human being. But unlike them, we have guidance from Allah as what area we should put our focus. They want the ability, take this out, to manipulate the human behavior tendencies in its genetic makeup, not for God's purpose, for the material purpose. Understand that? For the material purpose. We come to our Torah Sinin not for material. And they're coming to their Torah Sinin, they come to this understanding that the ultimate expression is matter. How can you say that matter created itself? How can you say that there is no creative force behind the material universe? There's no plan for the destiny of man. There has to be a destiny because we see the movement, and God said He created you from death to life. Well, for billions of years, the material universe was come to understand that the human being has a sense of destiny and purpose. We have already created you in this excellence of symmetry. Now, we got to make some connection. If we see our Tunisian as a secured neighborhood, a secured environment, Al-Aleem, they see it, as I said again, manifest destiny, promised land. The Hindus see it as nirvana. Every people who come into any religious knowledge must have a sense of what life looks like when their mind and their language dominates the environment. God says to us, our environment, our community must be a community that's driven by a mission of excellence. Everything we do must point back to the fact that we are driven not by this anything goes with the knowledge many of us have. You go on some Muslims, they take anything. They know. God says, our cut club, they understand. If you go from the big to the out, you ascend Mount Sinai, you make the area of Al-Aleem, in that process must be a principle of excellence. Because here I want to use now Tafsir Quran, beautiful Quran. I want to explain something that's in the Quran using another ayah. This particular phrase, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي. I'm going to use this phrase. Instead of saying Asana Tahween, inserted to the city, Surah 91. The 90. It says, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي كَبِدٍ. Kevin is usually translated as tall and strong. Tall and strong. So it means that I can replace excellence with what? Tall and strong. So the challenge that's before us, if we want excellence, we must be prepared to struggle. You can't get excellence being mediocre. You can't get the excellence accepting substandard. You can't get the excellence going anything goes. Because the principle that caused matter to evolve from dead matter to living matter, the conscious matter, is the principle of excellence. If we want to be a community that's in line with that natural movement of matter itself, we must be a people who are motivated, who are moved, who are insistent upon the best out of ourselves. We can't, as the Prophet says, the believer, whenever he seeks to do a thing, he seeks to make it excellent. It's hadith. That's a Quran-based hadith, because it points out this same principle of excellence. And now to back that up, go back to the Quran, God says, throughout Surah Rahman, I know many of you are familiar with the ayah which says, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. Which are the favors of thy Lord when you deny? But however, in that same surah, in the 60th ayah, there's another question, only mentioned one time. هَلْ جَزَاءِ إِحْسَانٍ إِلَّا إِحْسَانٍ. What is the reward for excellence other than excellence? God asked this question. In the midst of it, talking about all of the material graces, he asked you a question. And if you know anything about, again, understanding how the Quranic grammar works, a question is istifahim. That's the question that ask yourself, because istifahim means you seeking knowledge of what's already in you, what you already know. Your God-given potential demands of you better. You have to shut that down. You ever watch a little child learning how to write his name, write his alphabet. He will erase it several times when he gets it right. But if you get used to accepting mediocrity, accepting second-class status, you write any old way. And the sad part is, brothers and sisters, too many of us have that as a way of life. We come to Jumu'ah, even though the Quran tells you when Jumu'ah comes, you are to put on your best. We have not taken this religion seriously. This will give us the tools to be successful in the world. But if we come even to the masjid on Jumu'ah day, look at any old way, any old, okay. I mean, if we don't appreciate the words of God, we'll continue to struggle. We'll continue to struggle not for excellence, but struggle to maintain mediocrity. We must be a people who have come into an understanding of the Word of God and have found our place, found our sense of destiny. Because as I said, I gave this khutbah, I wrote this in one of the books I wrote. I pointed out how the purpose of revelation is to guide the human being into his sense of destiny and the plan of God. So by living in that plan, his or her life has meaning in God's plan. Until you find that, we will continue to struggle, not for excellence, but struggle in mediocrity. Until you find your sense of purpose, you'll easily be distracted. Because people who understand what I'm saying know that big nature is where most of us are stuck at. We imagine our Islam being something. But we say, let's come together and have massages that reflect that we have come to some knowledge. You know, some of us are still reluctant. We're still reluctant to support this effort. When we come sitting in a place 2 by 2, in a roof leaking, place cold, then we worship Allah. No. We must be people. What God says, لَقَدْ قَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. Those who struggle, and as some of our forefathers said, dare to struggle, dare to win. Some of us are afraid to win. We don't want to see Islam being that civilization of ascension that it once was. We talk about Islam in the heyday. I submit to you that if we take Islam seriously, we can make Islam the heyday now. I believe that the Muslims around the world who are afraid, that a free, independent, self-directed community coming out of the West will set a new standard. Because the hadith says what? That in the latter day, Islam will rise in the West. Never set again. I believe that we are those people destined to stand up in our own image as a human being and look at the essence of our own nature demands of us. Our own nature demands of us that we must stand up in excellence. We must be a community that is driven by the principle of excellence in everything we do. Not do things without due diligence and without due service. No. We don't want some type of jackleg work going on for us. No. We'd love to get our brothers and sisters who are Muslims to come work with us. But know for certain, brothers, we're not deceived by the title Muslim. If your work ain't excellent, you're out the door. We want men and women who come to do something that will stand. And poor quality work does not stand in the house of God. I'm going to be clear on this. Because if we just do something that's going to last, that guy's trying to make a quick buck. No. We are driven by the principle of excellence. So we can't be satisfied with slipshod work. Excellent means that you get better. I mean, you don't necessarily have to start out perfect and better, not perfect, better, excellent. But you got to at least be driving that way. And you got to come back and look at your work and what can I do better? This is what we want. Men and women who understand this principle, to be driven by the principle of excellence. And then we must become those who are just obsessed with doing better. Not satisfied. Oh, it's okay, brother. I need man, no. Because we cannot sit back in this day and time and accept to be mediocre. My brothers, okay, they're good. We must be a people driven by the principle of excellence. If you want to rise, keep this in mind. I'm going to sallam. The Arabs were known for excellence in speech, beautiful poetry, beautiful recitation. They can give you their whole literature and recite a poem that would go for 2 hours. They were known for excellence in their speech. But what other things did they do? Did they have been excellent in architecture, in music, in art, in dance, in mathematics? No. The contribution of the Arabs before Islam was nil, except for language. But there was an excellent man among them whose nature was still intact with the natural urge for excellence, and the man Mohammed, he wasn't the messenger of prophet. He worked with people called Unafat. Go look at the history of us and you can get this encyclopedia series. The prophet was trying to do right even before he got to the place called the Unafat. They were trying to help the poor and help the needy. Before Revelation, they wanted excellence in their society. They wanted justice in their society. They wanted human dignity in their society. They called the Hunafat. It was with Revelation that he understood how to achieve that. So every people since the time of Prophet Islam who've had a true interaction with the Quran in time produced from their own loins, so to speak, to their own offspring, their own descendants. They produce scholars. Now, how are you going to tell me and those who are with us that we can't do this same thing? This same Quran won't do this to you, brother. You guys got to go and get the scholars overseas. Hell, they ain't no Superman. You ain't never asked them to divine birth. These guys, they can take the Quran and rise up. We can't do it? No. I beg to differ. We have within us to carry the Quran onto our destiny. We are people, I believe, that yearn for this. We haven't got any money overseas to do this. We call on you and ourselves. Why? Because certain things you must do if you want dignity in the world. I was reading an article, actually I had to translate it, you couldn't read it. It was in, I think it was Bangladesh. They had an article about the purchase of this building in Bangladesh. And they talked about how the transition from synagogue to church to mosque. And they thought that was like a miracle to them because they see the Western man is so big. We don't see him as that big. I mean, I'm pretty back to Islam big, I tell you something about it. We see him in his real human, good and bad, put it out, put it out. Brothers and Muslims, we must build. You and I must find this work as something we can commit to and stick with it. Not for a week or a month or we in the building and let's sit down. No, this is a generational work. We see ourselves our genetics are being performed and there'll be others coming behind us with the same zeal, the same commitment to what? Excellence. We will be a community driven by the principle of excellence, mission driven. Our mission will be complete even in our death. Others will come behind us year after year after year because that's what our souls demand. Our souls demand a sense of excellence in the pursuit of God's plan in our lives. And I hope and pray, Lord, that those who come to work for us understand this. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted over, you are our brothers, you want to do no. You are our brothers, so we expect from you your very best. If you can't do it, get somebody else. Be clear. We expect from you, our brothers and sisters, don't come give us less than you give on the 40-hour day job you got. You give your best to us. Because long after that job is gone, this work will continue. I've read no place in the Quran or Bible that IBM or Google or AT&T will be forever. But I know that God said nothing will survive